race, that the communication obviously is there with your crew, you and come racing, but how much breakaway from dad to sons is there when it comes to racing? Are they pretty much on their own, making their own calls and decisions, or is somebody making the calls for them as far as how to make the car run and what to do?
Well, they about like me. They hard-headed. My daddy used to tell me things over and over, and I'd listen to him and then do things on my own. But my daddy's always told me, listen to everybody and use your own judgment. But when they come in and they done something wrong, I tell them what they done wrong, and they go from there. They take what I tell them and what they all know on the track, and use their own judgment. But
yeah.
They learn a lot from me, and I tell them, and plus they learn from watching the race tapes, their mistakes, and watching other races.
Well, you and I talked a little ways back here at the shop, and we were just talking about the boys, and particular race a few weeks back there. I believe it was Andrew that was leading the race. You were in second behind him, and you said you did everything you could to try to catch him out there on the racetrack. As a dad and as the father of the two boys out there racing, it's got to make you feel proud. It's got to make you feel good knowing that the competition that's there with the boys and you, there's definitely no nepotism. There's no favoritism. It is what it is. A helmet's a helmet. You racing hard out there on the track. How proud are you right now of the boys and their accomplishments, Brandy, as far as what they've done on the racetrack?
I'm proud of them. I mean, they this year and last year, really this year, they done come a long way. You look at them like it was just yesterday, and they was in their diapers, and now they're out here, outrunning their daddy. But,
and that's not a bad thing, though.
No, that's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing, but there's still, obviously, Brandy, we know it. There's still a father instinct, obviously, when the boys are out there racing. I mean, we all know it. It's eminent. You got to make sure the boys are okay.
Oh yeah.
And make sure that they're safe at all times. But when it comes down to racing, it is what it is. There's no, well, I'm your dad, I'm going to back off, I'm going to ease off. There ain't none of that out there. It's, you want to race, you're going to race hard, and we're going to stay with it. But we're going to take a little quick break here. We're going to bring the two boys in, and we're going to take and get down to their side and find out a little bit about them and their racing career and how they got started. Folks, this is the International Dirt Promotion, Dirt Track Racing Southern Style. We host Big Greg here, and we're down in Lancaster, South Carolina with Brandy Baker today, and we've got the two boys, Austin and Andrew, going to come in and join us. The show is brought to you by the good folks at the Chandler Collision Center, 1575 Great Falls Highway, Lancaster, South Carolina. It's also brought to you by the good folks at the Rogers Automotive, 2708 Flat Creek Road in Lancaster, South Carolina. Prestige Paint and Body, Lancaster, South Carolina. The Antioch Mini Mart convenience store, which is located in the Lancaster, South Carolina area as well. And our video presentation, videography, and all editing, all credits go to Gator Video. Mr. Jackie Sims doing our filming today here in Lancaster, South Carolina. Brandy, I'll tell you, we're going to bring the two boys in. Austin, Andy, you want to come in and join us over here and have a seat at the table and talk a little bit of racing? If you can, just grab a seat over here. Guys, welcome to the show here at the International Dirt Track Promotions here with Big G and your dad, Brandy, and everything. Let's start off with the youngest one. Andrew, amazing style of driving. You're driving with the big boys. You're out there week after week, hard competitor. Tell us a little bit about Andrew's upbringing in racing and your career when you first got started and when you got started in racing.
Well, we started off in go-karts, but that didn't last long. We raced about a year in go-karts, and me and Austin, we couldn't really get along in the go-kart, run over each other too much.
Both of them wanted to win.
Well, the way your upbringing with the go-karts and everything, was that, you remember watching Dad when you were younger, growing up, before you could race and everything, going to the races on the weekends and watching Dad and watching Austin race a little bit, and you got into racing yourself? When did you decide, Andrew, that you wanted to actually be a part of it and jump in a race car and start the race? Was there a long transition period between go-karts, or was it like right away, I've got to get out there and race with the big boys?
No, we had a good break in between go-karts and the other cars, because after me and Austin wasn't really getting along in go-karts, and they start racing on Friday nights, we just watched Daddy on Saturdays. But I wanted to race just about the whole time.
Now, you started off on the big track. You started off at the super speedway, right, on the big cars.
Yes, sir.
You started off in what was called at one time the young gun class. started off, you had a little bit of a rocky start there. I guess you had a bad wreck.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What actually happened?
Well, I started, I think, second row out, or third row outside, and I jumped in between the boys in front of me. And my left rear tire stuck out real far. I kind of wheel hopped Josh Lehman,
Yeah.
and it threw the car real bad sideways, and it goes straight to the wall.
And you came right down the front straight with the water barrels at the checkerboard there, and you ended up having some injuries, I assume, too. You broke some bones and kind of a bad wreck, but you recovered after that. You came back, and after that wreck, a lot of people will ask sometimes, are you able to get back up on that horse and ride it again, or do you need to sit down and regroup and think about it? Obviously, was there any downtime, Andrew, after that wreck before you got back in the race car?
Yeah, I had to take just about well, it was the sixth race of that year that when I broke my leg. And then I had to take the whole rest of the year off until the last race I got to race it. But yeah, I had plenty of downtime to think about it and all. I want no sense of being scared of it.
Brandy, when that wreck happened up there, and the only reason I'm asking this here is because, again, the fatherly instinct kicks in and things like that. Your encouragement with Andrew after a wreck like that, how did that take place? I mean, was it you can make the decision, Andrew, on your own if you want to continue to race, or was there more of you got to get back up on that horse and ride again? How'd that go with you and Andrew?
I told him if he ever wanted to race again, get back in the car. Okay. If you don't get back in it now, you'll be scared of it. That's like falling off a horse. You get back on it and ride it. If you don't get back on that horse, you're gonna be scared of it. So
you were there for the encouragement and the support of the father and support of the family, but as far as to make the decisions, I mean, you weren't going to force Andrew into something. Okay, so it was pretty much your decision, Andrew, to get back in that car.
Yeah,
all right, good. Over on my left here, this generation driver here, I had the pleasure of interviewing him several times back in 2009 in the Victory Lane there, driving a number 16 Primus sponsored soggy bottom car for Austin Baker. And Austin, appreciates coming up here to the show with us today. And obviously you and Andrew have some history when it goes back into go-kart racing and the little rivalries, sibling rivalries between brothers and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about your career in racing, where you got started.
Yeah, like you said, we started off in go-karts. We both started go-karts the same year, and we was out there. I run first and second, and then I run at the back, and we was real competitive. And he finally got up there, and he tried to take me out one time, and that was the end of that. So we got out of that, and after we got out of the go-karts, we just went to racing Saturday. We went to the race Saturday. We did it and watched him, and we picked up on it, and we was like, well, can't race go-karts, so can't wait till we get old enough to drive a race car.
Now, you obviously, again, brought up and raised into the racing family from granddaddy and on up your dad. And, where was the point where Austin decided that go-karts just wasn't going to be, wasn't going to cut it? We need to step up the program here. Would you say that your dad was an influence to there, or was it something that you wanted to pick up on your own?
Well, after going to the race every Saturday and watching Daddy race and seeing how fun it was, I picked up on it, and we just all love racing.
What's the first time that you got in a race car, your experience at the Super Speedway? Obviously, you didn't race full body cars at any other track but the Speedway.
Yeah. I was 13 years old, and it was Young Guns class, and that first lap I didn't hold it all the way, but after that it's just
and this is what I want to find out. Andrew, you both here come into it, and I'll ask Andrew first. Super Speedway, it's a true half mile track from corner to corner. First time you come through those gates up there with a full body race car, ready to get out there and race in Super Speedway, were you intimidated by the speed of that track, the size of the track? Was that a factor in your race to begin with?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous. I mean, I was nervous probably my whole first year of racing. Every time you sit down in a car, get butterflies. It just started wearing off and bleeding last year before that.
And that track is definitely intimidating. Austin, what about you? Intimidation the first time you hit the Super Speedway?
Yeah, about the first 6-7 races, I was still a little nervous. You go into the turn, it's real fast, but then about midway through the season, you get used to it, and then like you said, them butterflies, they wear off. You get that little feeling in your stomach, and it's like, well, it is what it is, and you're just going to handle it.
Your first victory at the Lancaster Super Speedway. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a tradition. Your first win, you get rolled in the mud. it was real exciting. I mean, you can barely think, really. You know, you're so excited. You go across that checker flag, you don't know. A lot of people, sometimes you get the butterflies on that last lap and they'll mess up. But you just got to hold it and hope it sticks, I reckon.
When was the reality, when did that set in about your first victory? Was it the mud bath, or was it when we stood there and handed you that flag in the victory lane and interviewed you? When did that set in?
As soon as I got that flag, I was happy.
Okay. And what about your career now, Andrew, as far as where you're at today? Do we have any wins now with Andrew?
Yeah, I've won 21 in my whole racing career. So
Okay. Super Speedway, get out there on that track, knowing that you're racing with both dad and brother at the same time, where you're racing against dad. At any point while you're out there on that track, are we just focused on the fact of our race program here, or are we intimidated at all at knowing that dad's out? Is there any kind of an influence that may be going through Andrew's mind when dad's out there on the track at the same time with you?
yeah, I mean, he's out there. He gonna take a little bit easier on me, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. He done put me out before.
But that ain't a bad thing, though. That is what it is, though. Racing is racing. But now, the referral that we had a few weeks back there when you were leading the race and Dad, he said he couldn't catch you. And last night, you were unstoppable in your performance at a Saturday night track. When you get out there, both y'all, I will say with Austin here, when you get out there on a racetrack and you know that you got all the rest of the family out there, you got Brady out there, you got your dad, you got Andrew out there racing, do we look at it as just another helmet out there, or are we realizing that, yeah, these are family, this is kin as well, but I've got a job to do, and that's to put this car in victory lane? Is there a separation point for Austin?
There's a small separation. You be out there and you come up on your kin people and you just like, it's hard to get around this person, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to get around them and not rub on them and tear something up. And you gotta look at it a whole different perspective. You know, you don't want to work on two cars the whole week just to gain a position. So you gotta pick the best way to get around them.
Brandy, let's go to you on this one here. You got your boys out there, Brandy. You're out there racing, and like we said, a helmet's a helmet most of the time. You're in that car, you focus on one thing. Of course, you know that your boys out there racing, but is there a separation point for you, Brandy, as well, when you guys say, look, either get or I'm going to take it? I mean, you come up on these two boys on the back end of them, or they're on your backside here racing. Do we look back as, these are my boys, of course I've got to be careful, but yet there's still that win instinct in Brandy that's got to get to the victory lane, you've got to cross that stripe. Where do you draw the separation, Brandy, at when it comes to the boys out there at the track same time as you?
It really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes we out there and, I'll do my best to outrun them, but if we out there racing, sometimes I'll just let it stay where it's at, but if I got to rub them to get around them, or they got to rub me to get around me, it's just a bragging right. We'll be at the shop. The pit crew talks all week about, if they're bragging on Andrew or bragging on Austin, when they get on that racetrack, they're going to try to outrun each other. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what kind of mood everybody's in. When they get on the racetrack, they really want to outrun each other, and they really want to outrun their daddy.
Would you say that there's still, to this day, Austin and Andrew, between the both of y'all, would you still say that there's a sibling rivalry between you two on the racetrack? I mean, that's your brother, that's your dad, but is there still that rivalry that I'm going to beat my brother? It stems back, obviously, from the go-kart days. When you had
always that rivalry, there's always that feeling. When you get out of that race car, you're gonna talk trash.
Yeah.
And bragging rights. I mean, you're gonna give them hell.
Does that still go on, Andrew, with you in Austin? Is there still that trash talking in the pits?
Yeah. I mean, that's about like Dad. I could be running second to last as long as he's behind me.
Brandy, what about you now? You right in there with the trash talking with the boys?
Oh yeah.
But, and folks, I think what a lot of people got to understand though is, yes, we're talking about family, we're talking about generations and traditions in racing, but we're talking about competition. We're talking about rivalries. We're talking about hard competition with dirt track racing, Lancaster Super Speedway, and all the tracks. We've always said, if you're going to learn how to race a car and do anything, you need to start off on a dirt track, or don't even bother getting in it. You might as well get a job someplace else if you want to focus on your career. But Brandy, with the two boys now in racing, what's your future for Brandy Baker now with the sport of dirt track racing? I mean, do we see ourselves 5 years from now, if the good Lord will provide and everything goes well, do we still see Brandy in a race car?
I doubt it. I used to say I'd never quit, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
So, but for right now, though, you're still going to focus on racing Saturday nights?
That's one of the fun things I do for a hobby is racing on Saturday night. We work all week, and it's hard to say. I got Avery's coming up. He's 9. He drives a little car in the shop in the junkyard, and he's ready to race right now if I'd give him a call. So
he might be in.
All three of them be racing for long.
Andrew, what about you now? Young career. You start off in, like I say, in a young gun class. Worked your way up now. Where does Andrew want to take his career in racing? How far do we want to go?
I want to go as far as I can take it, really.
Is it something that, have you kind of set a goal or a plan now for Andrew, or are you just kind of taking race after race, season by season?
Season by season.
Okay, but you do have the intentions of making it as far up as you can, whether it be in a late model series or even beyond. You want to go. Austin, what about you? Your career in racing now, is it the future of your endeavors with dirt track racing, where we stand now versus the future?
Yeah, I'm taking it season by season, but I'd like to get on up in the class.
Okay. Again, it's race to race, season by season. Have you and Dad and everybody sat down at some point to maybe discuss your career, where you want to go in racing? It's not really been an open discussion, Brandy?
No.
The decision on that, again, up to the boys?
Yeah. When I was younger, Daddy's always said, maybe somebody up there in Charlotte or, he'd like somebody, us do good and be recognized and, hit the asphalt. I know I'm too old for that, and, I don't know if they ever want to do that, but, that was a dream a long time ago. But, nobody with a lot of money ever, recognizes. Some of them, get picked up and move on. It'd be nice to see one of them do that,
Well, the thing is, guys, that we all know, we can sit here and talk racing all day long and we can talk about things, but we know that dirt track racing really does not get the recognition that it deserves. It doesn't get the coverage. It doesn't get the TV and media coverage. It just gets a basic amount of minimal coverage. And a lot of the names out there that aren't recognized, that has the talent to be somebody or be somewhere in racing, does not ever get talked about. So I guess we're going to have to kind of, again, it's a team effort to where we need to, as TV and media personnel, track personnel, you as drivers, you as family people, being the fact that you were born and raised with the tradition of racing, it's up to us pretty much to carry on this legacy of racing and to continue it on. You said something a few minutes ago about asphalt racing. Have you ever considered doing anything on asphalt, Andrew? What about you, Austin?
It ain't never crossed my mind, to be honest with you.
Okay, so pretty much dirt is dirt. That's what we're going to be. Dirt track racing, Southern style.